So you'll be given a little note that says you accept the fact that we are recording said meeting, and away we go. So welcome everybody. Wow, I feel kind of heavy about tonight, I have to say, because this is our 11th virtual village community meeting. 1 year ago today, we were going to meet at Casa Colombo in person. COVID-19 was a thing that people knew about. It wasn't a thing that people were afraid about. Not most people anyway. And we had an exchange amongst the board, and I have to be honest, like full disclosure here, I kind of thought it was a joke. Because I wasn't aware yet either. I was just too engrossed in whatever work life, whatever the case may be. And the recommendation that we had all made, I know it was like, Robinson and Evelyn and Irene, we were saying, we should not meet in person out of an abundance of caution, because this thing seems real and there doesn't seem to be anything good about it. So we canceled the in-person meeting for March. 1 year ago this month. In April, we didn't have a meeting, and in May, we launched our virtual format. So welcome everybody to our 11th virtual village community meeting. I do find this format to be rather successful. I think the recordings have been extraordinarily successful because, again, it allows people that have other commitments to be able to watch these meetings on their own time. So I hope everyone's doing well. I hope those of you that are eligible are vaccinated. I am not. My wife has gotten both doses. Anybody else been able to get vaccinated? No, I see heads shaking. Okay, well, we're all waiting patiently. And in the meantime, we still continue to follow the CDC guidelines. I'll talk a little bit about those, but our guest speaker tonight, that's really her bailiwick, so I'm not going to go into that too deep. So again, welcome. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we will jump into not the millions of tabs I have open that I'm going to share with you tonight, but the meeting deck for this evening, which isn't on the first page. Way to go, Eric. Okay, here we go. March 8th, Virtual Village. This is our board of directors. My name is Eric Hoffman. I'm the president of the Village Neighborhood Association for 2021. We've got wonderful board members, a really strong group of people, and our newest addition, our ace in the hole, Anya Dwyer. We welcome her, and we've been enjoying each other. I think we're a really good complement. We want to hear from all of you. We want you to continue to reach out to us individually or as a group, so we can do, what our mission is intended to do, which is to inform and to help as we can. The agenda for tonight is pretty straightforward. The first 4 items are items that I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to have the Director of Health and Human Services, Stacy Flanagan, join us. We're going to do our COVID-19 updates. Again, it's going to be abbreviated because that's really, Stacy's bailiwick. So she'll take us through, vaccine expansions, I would imagine, and whatever else she would like to talk about. Health and Human Services has their hands in a lot of really wonderful initiatives in the city. Mary Benson Park, as a quick reminder, Jersey City initiatives, there are many. There's a lot going on. Couldn't pack everything in. I want to just talk about a few things that I think you'd be interested in hearing, and then a few updates specific to the village neighborhood before we invite our special guest. She's expected to attend around 8 o'clock. So, as we've done in every one of these virtual meetings, I believe we actually started this in May, if not, the dashboard may not have been created at that time, but the COVID-19 tableau, this is, again, something that, as we learned last month, is brought to us by the Office of Innovation here in Jersey City. And it's been something that we've been reviewing. When we first started reviewing this, back in April, I think nobody was really fully prepared for the amount of cases that we're going to see here in Jersey City, for the actual spike in COVID-19 that you're seeing on the screen there. We flattened the curve significantly for many, many months. And that's a credit to every one of you, and a credit to everyone being vigilant about, safety measures and distancing, social distancing, wearing your masks and face coverings. So, here we are, seeing a little bit of a spike again. I'm not looking to be an alarmist here and talk about COVID variants, but I think it's important to note that the level which we're seeing today is not too terribly different than at the onset of this pandemic. So I feel like this is a critical juncture in the pandemic, and it's incumbent upon all of us to continue to do what we've been doing, and remind those of us that are around us that may not be following the protocols, albeit fatigue or whatever, that this is still a very serious thing, that we need to continue to do what we've been doing, which helped us flatten the curve in the first place. Testing sites, again, I'm just going to go over this very quickly. There are a number of testing sites, as you may know. There's this site on Marin, which is still open. It's interesting, it's not nearly as crowded as it was. I went a couple of weeks ago, first thing in the morning, which used to be the time you would never go because that's when there was a line and you would end up taking about an hour for the turnaround. It's now at about, I'm going to say 8 minutes in and out, pretty much any time of day that you go. I think people are more focused on, vaccinating as opposed to testing, but they're everywhere. You see the pop-up trailers. There's one on Barrow. There's a number of sites, throughout the city, including the private sites like CityMD and the Prompt MD Urgent Care, that you can still get tested. Mary Benson Park is the next item on the agenda. Mary Benson Park is something that we talked about last month in a good bit of detail. It's a I'm going to call it a passionate pipe dream for many of us to turn Mary Benson Park into something much more formidable as a passive park for the use of the community. As we reviewed last month, the section that is on the north side of Mary Benson Park, right by the firehouse, that abuts Newark Avenue. There are plans in place by the city to do some improvements to that. And as we learned from Michelle Eager last month, there's a little bit of extra money there. So they're looking to do a smallish enclosed dog run, which I know is something that the community is very interested in. But our survey is really about understanding what the usage of Mary Benson Park is currently, what you want it to be. Do you go there? Do you know about it? And that's going to help us, provide that information to the city entities that are going to, take this to the next step, right? So again, the interim temporary step is refurbishment of that section that's adjacent to Newark Avenue, and the big pipe dream is to expand it significantly. But for now, we know that there are plans in place, and the construction is out to bid for the smaller improvement, which is going to get us in the right direction. So that'll be put into the chat if it has not already. Oh, there it is. Oh, thank you very much. And then I just wanted to talk about a few Jersey City initiatives. First and foremost, I would like to just encourage everyone, if you're not on Mayor Phillip's email list or on Councilperson Solomon's email lists, I encourage you to get on those, because they send out bi-weekly-ish emails with a series of links about things that they're working on. They're never the same. Sometimes there is some overlap, but for the most part they're very different, because they have different things that they're focusing on, and there's really a lot of great things that are going on in Jersey City. So I want to touch on regional connectivity, new Jersey City schools, public schools that have been announced, and then two projects that are underway in the studying phase, sort of a concept design phase, material investigations and that sort of thing for improvements to Marin Boulevard and the Powerhouse Arts District's Neighborhood Association parking improvements. I'll show you a little tidbit on that. And the two decks that we have, we will post these on our website for you to be able to look through the presentations that have been made on those two things, and then just touch on this vertical farming program, which is, like, to me, it's like the coolest thing since sliced bread. But it's an initiative that Mayor Phillip is championing with Health and Human Services, to just get greater access to healthy foods for those that are in need and don't, have the ability to access healthy foods, albeit they're in a bit of a food desert here in Jersey City, or they just don't have the means to go get it for themselves. So this is a very innovative program that Jersey City is embarking on. So the regional connectivity piece of this is, I'm sorry, this is like my favorite photo. The City Bike expansion, City Bike program is expanding into Greenville, West Side, the Heights, and Hoboken. The Greenville is the first spot that's going to be hit. The location of the new City Bike stands were chosen by residents of Greenville, and then it will, go on to the West Side and the Heights. So ridership is obviously up. It's significant enough that the city is investing in expanding that program. And VIA, to me, this is a wonderful little kind of beta program that has taken off and been extraordinarily successful. VIA's still clocking, somewhere in the order of 1,200 rides a day. And so they are responding to, some of the requests of their riders, which is to expand the service. So they are expanding the service now to include Saturdays. That's the additional days of service. So now VIA will operate Monday through Friday, and it will operate on Saturdays as well. You can find all of that information again through the city's website, but good news as far as increasing regional connectivity in downtown. So the next thing, oh, Evelyn, you're right on time. She's texting me, what did I miss? Right on time. So 2 new public schools have been announced. The photograph on the left is the new PS16 annex under construction. And that on the right is part of the development plans for the Laurel and Saddlewood Court development, which is, as you can see, a very significant development, mixed use development that will include a new school for Jersey City. Now, as you'll hear our civic leaders talk about, this will help. It will ease somewhat overcrowding that we're experiencing in the public schools here in Jersey City. It doesn't solve the problem. We still need another school, probably another 2. And if the development continues the way it does, schools need to keep pace. But this, in my mind, this is good news. It's again a step in the right direction that 2 new schools have been announced in downtown. Or not in downtown, excuse me, in Jersey City. So the next piece is the Marin Boulevard improvements. So for those of you that may not be aware of this or have not seen it, I would just want to show you a little bit about what was presented. So Marin Boulevard, there's a series of improvements that are being studied by the city in conjunction with the entities that you see at the bottom of this first slide. It was a very interesting presentation, mostly because the first like 9 slides were dedicated to here's how to use a GoToMeeting. At the end of which they sort of get into the meat and potatoes of it, which is to talk about this is really an effort to continue not just the Safe Streets initiative, but more walkability, more ability for pedestrians, bicycles, and motor vehicles to occupy the same space without the threat of significant danger, right? So I won't go through all this. I do want to just kind of get to some of the more interesting parts of it for me, which are this slide, which doesn't seem to want to load. Come on back, there it is. The diagrams of what the intended and proposed improvements are. So this is the intersection of Marin and Montgomery. Again, there's a lot of detail in here. I won't get into it. Suffice to say, they're looking at ADA access, right? American with Disabilities Act. They're looking at handicap access at each one of these intersections. They're looking at the protected bike lanes. They're looking at medians and other traffic calming measures. That this is a particularly gnarly intersection, as I'm sure you all know, and they tend to get worse, right? Like this is that. So this is where the Krispy Kreme donuts is and Latham House here, that weird little bend, which on some days is akin to that hairpin turn at Monaco Grand Prix. You'll see people just come ripping down Marin Boulevard, and this is a really sort of dangerous blind spot because it's a double curve. So what they're looking to do here is, provide some sort of a median in the center of this. Again, understanding the need for handicap access and ability to safely navigate our streets. To me, this is a pretty excellent first stab at a proposal that is looking at the entirety of Marin Boulevard, as it heads north, kind of all the way to the Holland Tunnel. And then, here, I'll just stop there. So they're looking to, begin the final design in the spring. So what does that mean? That means that everything that they've put into this, will be set up against budgets and will be set up against, the reality of what they can accomplish with this plan, and get it into a designer's hand to execute. And then, of course, it goes out to bid, and they're looking to award and construct in the summer of 2023. The other project that I just wanted to touch on is the Powerhouse Arts District Neighborhood Association parking improvements. This one, I took this clip because to me, this actually spoke volumes as to what they're trying to do. So this kind of a roadway diagram, I've had the privilege of working on teams that were doing this kind of work, when I was working as an architect in my career, and the kinds of things that they're doing here in the proposed are precisely the right kinds of things to do. In other words, what you have is a significant asphalt roadway, and nothing but vehicular traffic gets broken up by protected bike lanes, the ability to have lay-by and parking. In this case, they're showing a food truck as a diagram to illustrate that. A median to sort of mitigate any kind of oncoming traffic issues, and then again another protected bike lane. So these are improvements, and this particular deck, let's see, sorry folks, okay, I've got that one on this deck is on, yep, there it is. So it's also very comprehensive. It shows existing conditions. It's looking at what are the proposals they're going to look at short term. This is their vision board. Again, looking at what is proposed, what's the pipe dream, right? What are they looking to do? Medians to help mitigate traffic. And here's those diagrams again that I was just showing you. Existing conditions, all the fun stuff they're thinking about. It's always good to kind of put as many in a vision board, as many of these things as you can, even in the sense of kind of throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what is going to stick. The outdoor fitness equipment, tetherball, ping pong, right? These are just ways of trying to understand what can be part of a proposal like this. So I applaud this particular proposal for just really kind of going out there and figuring out what it could be, and not really limiting it to the kinds of things that you would typically see, right? So there's that, and like I said, we will put this up on our website as a link, so you can peruse that and understand what's being proposed by the city in this particular improvement project. That brings me to the vertical farming program. So Mayor Phillip put out an email blast, I think it might have been this morning, but to talk about this vertical farming program, which is truly fascinating as a technology, as an idea for a city. This aerial farming, obviously it has implications, with respect to square footage and the ability to grow just a ton of edible produce in a smaller space. So this is a company called Aero Farms, which has partnered with Jersey City to execute, I believe it's 2 at this point of these vertical farms or aerial farms, as they're often called, in downtown Jersey City, or in Jersey City as a whole. And again, the goal is to try to provide produce to those that don't have direct and clear access to those to those foods in any healthy way, right? So this is I just think this is fantastic. It's great to see, the city that we live in, kind of tapping into technology to help solve some very basic problems of hunger and access to food. Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to go through here. 1 second. All right, Joe, will you just let me know when Stacy jumps on? I'm going to go through this last section here, but I don't want to take away from her time. Village updates. Okay, so village updates, quality of life. I want to draw your attention to a Jersey City Times article that is an interesting read, if nothing less. And then a request by Councilperson Solomon regarding safe streets initiatives and yield to pedestrian signs. So I'll start with quality of life, and I'll just say that the quality of life is specific to a local bar that we've had a significant number of issues with, and I just want to put it out there and just let all of you know that there is no issue that is too small to notify any member of the VNA board, myself, or anyone else, or send a note to the info@jcvillage.org account. We cannot always help, but we want to know what's on your radar. We want to know the issues that are plaguing you. And this particular quality of life issue has now gotten to the office of Councilperson Solomon, and we're gonna do our best to ensure that every resident has the right to live their life peacefully and not deal with nuisances, be it public noise or otherwise. So the Jersey City Times article, I've got it open here. It has a phenomenal title. It is "A Notorious Developer Gets the Last Laugh." This is part 3. So the editor-in-chief of the Jersey City Times, Aaron Morrell, has been talking to a number of people in Jersey City, including some of our board members, some of whom are quoted. Irene, most notably, is quoted fabulously in today's part 3. I was sort of halfway quoted. But listen, this is the story of 333 Grand and 245 Newark Avenue, and the developer Peter Mocco, and what the city has been through, what the residents have been through, what a number of the neighborhood associations have been through. It's a true saga. In speaking with Aaron, he called it his opus, and not for nothing, but it's an excellent read. It's very enlightening. I'm not going to say it's uplifting. I mean, the title of the article is alone kind of gives you a sense of what you're going to read. But I would encourage you to find this and give it a read. So you just go on to Jersey City Times, and literally when you go onto their website, it is, as you can see, it's the top article that's featured. So I encourage you to read it.
But we really tried.
It's depressing, but we tried. Yes. I would say that is perfectly well said. Okay, so at this stage, let's see. We don't have Stacy here just yet. I did want to go back because I realized there were a couple of links that I had open, tabs that I had open that I didn't touch on, which I assumed we would sort of talk more about with Stacy when she got here. But I just popped on the CDC guidelines. You may have seen some of the articles that hit the news media today. One of them is specific to what are the CDC recommendations when you are vaccinated. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say, to be very clear, despite, a number of people getting vaccinated, nothing has really changed for them or for anyone else. And that is to say that when you're out in public or when you are, engaging in group activities, nothing's changed. We're still being asked to socially distance. We're still being asked to wear our masks. And then, of course, we're also being asked to get vaccinated, right? And then what's new and what has changed is the guidelines that have just now come out about what happens when you've been fully vaccinated, which depending on the vaccine that you get, if it's the Moderna, it's 2 weeks after your second shot, you have your superhero powers, and they are not encouraging, but they're outlining that fully vaccinated people can gather with fully vaccinated people indoors without wearing a mask safely, right? And then, again, we got to wait a little bit longer. I mean, I feel like we'll be wearing masks, well through this year. But, keep an eye on it. If you are, there are more specific guidelines in here, which I think it's in that last paragraph right there, which if you're in a group setting and around someone, but there are other things about, if you're visiting relatives who all live together in a single home and have been vaccinated, then that's okay too. So again, it's just an abundance of caution. Continue to follow the guidelines and sort of just understand, what it is that we need to do. I know we're all having like major fatigue with all this, but there is a light at the end of this very long tunnel, and a lot of that has to do with, of course, getting vaccinated. So if you haven't signed up for the vaccine, again, by all means, you should do that right away, just to pre-register for the vaccine. Currently, phase 1A, phase 1B are eligible for the vaccination. And what they've done is phase 1C appears to have been broken out. So they've taken all of the, let's call it, more important members of 1C. These are things like, bus drivers and people in sort of fringe healthcare settings, if you will. A number of other workers are on that list, but they've brought all those groups forward. So someone like myself that is, in fact, in 1C, I'm not eligible yet. I'm still waiting on that email. When I get it, I will certainly sign up right away. But they've pulled out all the sort of important categories from 1C. So 1C is not fully open. There are members of 1C that are eligible to get the vaccine. And when you pre-register, they will let you know when you're up. So I've been talking for a while now. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all your faces and stop talking for a minute. Any questions on anything that we've gone through so far? Anybody want to comment? Tell us about your experiences with vaccinations or getting appointments.
Eric, I don't want to actually talk. I mean, I could. I have an appointment.
Come on, you got to give us your hack.
I know. I'm so excited. But 2 weeks from today, we get our first vaccine. But no, I was thinking if Captain Daly was still around while we're waiting for Stacy, we could maybe talk to him about our quality of life issue and what things we can do with this bar that's torturing people at 2 a.m.
Got it. No, it's a good point. All right. So Captain Daly, you're up. I know, sorry, I didn't prep you for this one. But it's potentially a softball. I mean, I think it's something that you deal with quite frequently. The bar across the street from Village Park here on First Street, Indio's, has been, they were quiet for quite some time, and it's ramped up significantly to the point where neighbors are being significantly affected. Personally, I have some concerns about a couple of the more frequent behaviors which I don't believe are within their legal rights to do. One of which is hosting a food truck out front, and the second of which is hosting a live DJ, which I was under the impression you had to have an entertainment license to do that. But suffice it to say, setting the stage for what has been happening is there have been some pretty sizable events of late. My neighbors have informed me about it. I've actually been looking out for it, but I go to bed too early because it becomes a major deal at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And those residents that are adjacent to that property have provided me with some rather alarming accounts of people loitering in the street and et cetera, et cetera. Nobody's wearing masks and well above the 35% capacity. What would you recommend we do as our course of action, because I will also say that residents who have gone in to physically request that the music gets turned down had initially been received with "Yep, sure, yeah, well, yeah, sorry," and that has morphed into just confrontational ugliness that we've advised them don't go in, do not engage.
I would advise the same. All right, so are you through? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm done, man.
All right. First and foremost, I always say call. I know a lot of people go, I call and nothing happens, but I would definitely say call because, like you said, this is the first I'm actually hearing of this. I've been out of the East for the past 2 weeks, I would say, but even when I was in the East, this is the first time that bar was actually brought on my radar. So I would start off with always call because at least we have some sort of documentation towards it. If not, it could seem like it's just one person when it's the whole neighborhood. So if the whole neighborhood is actually calling, those call tickets are compiling. So when I pull it, it doesn't look like I just went there arbitrarily and decided to go on my own to pick on someone. Next, I would say definitely during the act, we can see if we see overcapacity during a certain time, live DJ, which you are correct. Everyone can't just have a live DJ. These are the things we can bring up to different divisions, especially because Prosecutor Hudnut, he's very helpful. And I can actually fan some of that out to his group with the Quality of Life Task Force. So it's a lot of different avenues we have, but it would be more just get the communication. Like what I just wrote down was the time, and that'd be one thing that we can address. We actually have Director Flanagan, who's going to be, because she's familiar with the food trucks and everything, which that's another issue. There's a bunch of different issues that you speak of, but I would have to know all of the problems that actually have addressed by the correct personnel. So that would be probably, health with the, the food trucks. We have the noise violations, different things with quality of life. With the prosecutor would be more helpful because he actually addresses the ordinance when it deals with like the mass violations and things as far as the COVID nature. He's really familiar with that, and he addresses it from the court end of it. But from the enforcement standpoint, as far as a police officer, when we see it, we can actually address the noise violations or anything that's actually a breach of someone else's peace. So that's something to where the calls would help. And then all the information that you can provide for me, like right about now, what I just wrote was NDOs, time 2 a.m. I'm assuming it's going to be the end of the week, let's say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but I'm not sure because now with COVID, people party all the time. So I would have to know the exact days just to get a few specifics so I can actually take it back to the people who are in the East and get it into the right hands.
Yeah, anybody on here, correct me if I'm wrong, but lately it has generally been well on the weekends, on the Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday nights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wondering about that this weekend because I was like, why is it so noisy out there? And I was like, well, what's going on out there? And now this kind of makes sense because I'm on second and Indios is on first.
Now this is a problem that you just started recently seeing this, correct?
I'm gonna say last few months.
Last few months. And this is the first I'm hearing of this.
Well, so my comment about it's been ramping up is from my observation, it started with hosting private events, and these didn't all occur in those nighttime hours, right? So just to give you an example, the first event that I called about was a birthday party, and I'm going to say there were 75 plus people in there, which is I'm guessing that's even north of 100% capacity for that tiny space.
Yes.
And there were balloons and there were kids, and it was a huge event, and I was at least 2 hours too late to make that call. And I called the non-emergency JCPD number, and I made the report. As I was hanging up the phone, I'm realizing it's breaking up, and I'd say hour or so later, I got a phone call on my cell phone, and I answered it, and it was one of your officers who said, "Hey, we're out front. You want to come talk to us?" So I was pleasantly surprised. I knew it was too late, but I wanted to at least get the lay of the land out there. So I step outside my front door, and there were 4 officers. We had a nice cordial conversation. I explained to them what happened. Of course, we all were sort of like, I wish we had known a couple hours ago when it was in full swing. But I feel like it started with private events, and it has now morphed into this kind of every weekend thing with a food truck and a DJ and a ton of people, you know, from all over.
Well, like I said, what I can actually do is actually go into the licensing capacity, see what they're actually supposed to have, what they're regularly to have the licensing checked through commerce and everything. But again, this is something that the quality of life types, I think this is right up their alley, because they have all of these different partners in the city that they work with who address every issue of what you just spoke about. So they have police, they have commerce, they have the courts, they have all of those systems. And then again, to add an extra layer to it, I would say I would basically speak with the new East District Commander and let her have her people on it.
All right, thank you, Captain Daly. That's excellent. We always appreciate your insights.
No, so it's always a pleasure. I'll try to make as many meetings as I can.
I see we have Stacy with us.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just leaving City Hall. Sorry. I'm just going to sit downstairs to hop on the call.
That's totally fine.
Give me a moment to get down the stairs and I can give you a complete other overview
Okay, great.
of the vaccine program.
Captain Daly, so we're gonna miss you in the East. I
Yeah,
understand that you've moved from the East and you are from the word on the street. I hear you're now in charge of training and
Yes.
the radio room. Is that correct? Is my word on the street correct?
Halfway. I got the training, not the radio room, but I got a few other things. But it's fun. I'm having a good time with it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations to Director Flanagan. I think she was honored today as at City Hall for International Women's Day.
She deserves it.
That's great. Well, hang on a second, sweetheart. I do want to turn it over to you, Stacy. I had this all set up to show your photo. Here we go.
All right.
Hey, there you are. This is the Health and Human Services site on Jersey City. Welcome, Stacy. I normally give a pretty significant, COVID-19 updates and vaccinations. We touched on it lightly tonight, knowing that you would be here. So I welcome you and I yield the floor, so to speak.
Awesome. So thank you, everybody. And thank you for inviting me. I'm sorry I was a little delayed. We just had a ceremony for all of the women directors of the city that have been working through COVID. And so I'm here to share with you sort of what's been happening on our end. I'll start with vaccines and then I'll go all the way backwards. It has been 368 days of COVID here in Jersey City. Our first case was March 6th, 2020. And our team has been working pretty much tirelessly since that time. Today, we opened our third point of distribution vaccine site that we call pods. Our vision is to have 6 sites opened across the city by the time vaccines are opened to the general public. In October of 2020, we were asked to put together a plan of action. We selected a site in every ward that was either a city building or a public building that had ample space and ADA compliance. And we thought we would get a lot more vaccines than we have to date. On January 11th, we were given permission to start vaccinating. At that time, the city received 500 vaccines, albeit late, so we couldn't get started because they came quite frozen that day. And we kicked off our vaccine program on January 13th. On January 13th, we learned at the same time the public did that the governor decided to open various sections of each phase of the vaccine effort. We didn't anticipate serving seniors 75 and older until about February 1st. So as of January 14th, seniors 75 and older became part of the eligible population, along with seniors 65 and older, along with smokers and chronic illnesses, which for us went from 4,000 people that were eligible on January 13th to 80,000 people eligible for the vaccine in Jersey City on January 14th. Again, already those 500 vaccines had been accounted for. We had started the program with our police and fire due to the fact that 16% of our fire department got COVID over the past year, and leading just not that far behind our police department. And so when healthcare workers opened up to include police and fire, we thought it was really important to do that. Once January 14th hit and people with chronic health diseases were able to get vaccines, some of our police and fire stepped back to allow us to start vaccinating our most vulnerable. In fact, in the first week of vaccines, we vaccinated 2 individuals over the age of 100, which was really, incredible. We then realized that we weren't going to be able to keep up pace, and we decided to prioritize seniors, particularly over the age of 75, and provide Uber rides because Uber had so generously offered 12,000 rides to the city. To make that all happen, we engaged with our bespoke health team that was running our vaccine program and opened up a call center, because we knew if we were doing the online registration from the state, which quite honestly breaks down often and goes offline pretty much 2 to 3 times a week the first month, we just really couldn't see that being the survival for the 500 vaccine allocation. Week 2, we were allocated 300 vaccines, and week 3, 500 vaccines. Up until this week, we had been leveraging as many vaccines as possible, partnering with the hospitals to move people that had an interest in getting vaccinated but weren't seniors. We were making appointments for them at Christ Hospital or the Jersey City Medical Center or one of our partner federally qualified health centers. So as of today, we have 14 locations across Jersey City. At this point, only 3 are run by the city of Jersey City. One of those 3, which opened today, is in partnership with a FEMA program and the Department of Defense that is focused on the faith-based community to engage with community leaders to increase trust in our most vulnerable neighborhoods. So neighborhoods that had high instances of COVID are still not as interested in the vaccine as neighborhoods with lower cases. So we pushed on that, and this week there are 3,500 vaccines being run through our 3 centers. Starting next week, we'll be opening up a 4th location, which is PS 26. And PS 26 and Ferris High School will be focused on the Jersey City Board of Ed staff that are still not been vaccinated in order to help the BOE open the school system. However, at the same time, we do have an additional 1,800 vaccines that are allocated to us from FEMA. So we're working very closely with all of the religious institutions to ensure that we have vaccines for all populations. Right now, we are awaiting the next, big ticket item, and that's the J&J partnership. We received 100 J&J vaccines late last week. Because it was so small, we felt it wasn't ready for public yet. And so we've dedicated those 100 vaccines to the city's homebound seniors on the city's Meals on Wheels program. We've called all of our homebound seniors, and we are kicking off that program on Wednesday with EMT and nurse partnerships in buildings where there's multiple people on the Meals on Wheels program to just tackle as many in one setting as we can. And we hope that this first foray into Johnson & Johnson will open up a little bit more in the coming weeks. In fact, every Wednesday is when the city has allocated its vaccines for the next week. So when you call the city's appointment schedules and can't get an appointment, it's mostly because we have no idea how many vaccines we're getting the next week until somewhere late on Wednesday or early Thursday. And so this has been sort of like a race to the finish for us. In addition, the vaccine protocol is that within 72 hours of receipt of the vaccine, the city must inoculate 75% of the doses. So we have to get doses into arms within 72 hours of receipt of the vaccine. And so it's made our weekend scheduling very difficult. We are not pressed to that number with our FEMA program, but we are with the FEMA program, we are required to make sure that everyone we give an appointment to shows up for the appointment. And sadly, today, our first day, we had 45 no-shows for our appointments. Lucky us, we have a significant waiting list, but that's just, unacceptable. We're making an appointment. We expect people to come to them. We are sending cars for people. So there's a car service attached to any appointment that's needed. We have people speaking English, Spanish, Arabic, Urdu, Hindi, Creole, French, and American Sign Language on site with our FEMA partners. So we're really excited to really embrace that partnership because we hope that will give us more and more vaccines for the city. There's also, opportunities. So yesterday we got a phone call from West New York that opened up a vial of vaccines and needed 7 people in order for them not to let those vaccines go to waste. We have an hour to get those people to a location. So we are legitimately working around the clock, trying to get vaccines into arms of every person that is currently eligible. I'll probably stop there and see if you have questions.
I just want to say that's incredible. Like I'm really encouraged. That's wonderful. The process, with which we're trying to chase people down. I'm a little sickened that 45 no-shows would actually happen, but kudos, Stacy. That's really incredible.
And we call them, and so we're like trying to ensure that they're like if they don't show up, we give them an hour, we give them a call, we follow up, and so we're continuing to try to engage as many people as possible to get the vaccine.
Stacy, can I just say, I think you're a superhero. Out of the event, down the stairs, not ruffled at all, not missing a beat, and giving us all this incredible information and all the facts. I think you're a superhero. Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
I second the motion.
I aspire to be like you when I grow up.
One day you will. Thanks.
Hey, Stacy, can you give us the names of the people who didn't show up today?
That would be like the most crazy HIPAA violation I deal
I
with.
know. I say that partially in jest.
Jason he makes IDs.
Yeah. Or Stacy, is there a safe loiterable place and time that we can just kind of arrive and see if people have skipped?
So we don't practice so we call them vaccine vultures. We don't allow anyone in the facility. We have a short list of people that live close by that may have stopped by earlier in the day, asking questions, but are eligible. So we call them rather than let anyone hang out in the parking lot or, wait and see. But I will say that everyone that is eligible, there is a vaccine waiting for you. It's not arrived in Jersey City yet. As soon as they get here, we are getting them into arms, and I mean, we know that there's like a 30,000 person waiting list at Hudson, at the Juno Center of people that aren't yet eligible but have signed up. We felt that that wasn't the right method for us, because we also know that people have made like 17 to 25 appointments and don't show it, many of them. And the numbers, like, in order to make this work, we need people, like, we get 10 doses out of a vial. That vial, once open, needs to be used within 6 hours. It needs to be kept at a certain temperature. Sometimes you can get 11 doses out of a vial if you have the proper syringes. In fact, that's one fun fact. We get sent, a packet for each individual that's supposed to align with the doses. Many of the syringes haven't worked. So lucky us, before the prices went up, our team at Bespoke was very proactive, and we purchased a significant amount of syringes to get us through this, along with CDC cards for vaccines, all of the things that we expected to come, and like protocol do not come. And so when we were told they'll send us everything, it's not the case. And we've really, because we're a comprehensive health department, we did have some things like in our clinic, like Sharps containers and an account with Sharps. So we're able to pick up that debris and move it quickly. And I would say that if you need a vaccine, call the number and start making those appointments, because once March 15th comes, we are going to be working directly with the Board of Ed. So no one that works for the Board of Ed needs to call the number, so that the number can be freed up for the other people that are eligible. And then March 29th, we'll have another huge set of people that are eligible, which are the restaurant workers and our frontliners, the supermarket employees. And so we want to get everybody who is eligible now to get in, so that we can get to the next phase. We're hoping April 15th is when they open the doors to the public.
So I have to ask, and I'm afraid I know the answer just given your detailed description of your efforts, but what, if anything, can we do to help?
I think making sure people are, one, educated about the fact that the city has been allocated Moderna. A lot of people are waiting for Johnson & Johnson. We have no idea if we're getting a lot of Johnson & Johnson, a little of Johnson & Johnson. And if we only get it in small groups, it's really going to be for those people that by research. So the research shows that individuals over the age of 80 have greater side effects from Moderna. And so that's why we're focused on the J&J. So that's, once we got J&J in hand, we opened up the doors a bit this week. Anyone that calls that's part of the eligible class, you're hearing it here first. We sort of like released that prioritization of seniors, because a lot of them were working through the faith-based effort at this time. So I think it's educating people, knowing that, like, call us, listen to the voice message, and wait for someone to answer, and we will get you an appointment as soon as you're eligible.
So I'm sorry that I don't know this. I should know this, but it does sound like the J&J, as you said, is desirable by some because of lesser side effects. I'm sure also because it's a single dose. But my question, and again, I'm sorry, I probably just Google this, but I'm just going to ask you: is the efficacy the same? You're on mute, Stacy.
Oh, there's, I'm on mute. The efficacy is about 90%. And it just takes a little bit longer after that one shot. So it takes about 6 weeks for that 90% versus the 28 days. It takes about the same time. So just because you get that one shot, it doesn't mean you're ready to go. Just like if you get the first Moderna, you still 28 days later get the
28
second
days,
Moderna.
yep.
And then you're not fully vaccinated until 2 weeks
2
later.
weeks after, right? Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah. I will also highlight, because a lot of people ask about COVID testing. So we operate COVID testing through partnerships at this point. So we are not running any testing across the city except for saliva testing at the Bethune Center, which is at 140 MLK. That happens Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 12 to 5:30 p.m. In addition to that, on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 12 to 5:30 p.m., the New Jersey Department of Health co-sponsors a Binex rapid test, which is the 15-minute rapid test, free to any New Jersey resident at our Maureen Collier Center, which is at 335 Bergen Avenue. And those are both listed on the COVID testing site. So jcnj.org/COVID testing. We are updating our COVID testing locations daily. In fact, this week we're adding a location at Berry Lane Park, Pershing Field, Exchange Place, and 200 Hudson. So what we're trying to do is everywhere people request testing, we kind of take a look at the caseload in that neighborhood. We work with a partner. If they are open to testing, they'll start with short hours, maybe 4 to 6 hours, and then expand it if there's great need.
That's great.
Amazing, Director Flanagan.
Yeah, this has
Thank
been
you.
totally enlightening. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Director Flanagan that haven't been asked already by someone as
So she could
uninformed
go
as me?
home and rest.
Yeah, I
at the
feel bad. You're like
self-care.
sitting downstairs at City Hall.
Well,
So she could go home.
head home. It's International
Punch
Women's
out.
Day.
I'm gonna go home and answer emails from all of you if you have questions anyway. So
It is fitting that you're here on International Women's Day. You are a force, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Director Flanagan.
yeah, thanks. So,
Michelle, yes, Michelle, I second that.
Yes.
Michelle says, go have a cocktail. Yes.
yeah, Michelle, not today, but sometime soon. I will say, you know, I did mention that we're already in year 2 of our COVID response. We do have some exciting stuff that you'll see in the next few weeks. One that I think is probably near and dear to a lot of people downtown and in the village is that tonight on the council caucus, which will be passed on Wednesday, is a resolution from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, which provided the city with a grant for $100,000 to give restaurants funding to help families that are impacted by COVID.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
So over the last year, I think Michelle knows quite well. By the way, those that don't know, Michelle is like an amazing trooper over at HHS. And, you know, we wouldn't be able to do our food and nutrition program without we have 47 staff in our food and nutrition program. And we started in March of last year trying to help the restaurants that started closing by delivering meals to families, particularly our immigrant families who didn't qualify for unemployment, who didn't qualify for food stamps, people that lost their jobs. And we have tried really hard to continue to deliver. If there are people in the community that need a delivery, you can send me an email and we will put them on a list to give them a weekly family meal for 4, and then a family food box that includes fresh fruits and vegetables delivered on Fridays through our partner Red Rabbit. And then we're working with the Jersey City Restaurant Association, which is a large group of downtown restaurants that will be able to decide how they want to spend their money, but we're committed. I guess the mayor doesn't quite know this yet, but any restaurant that signs up will be guaranteed a $10,000 grant to support meals that would cost $10 a piece. So each restaurant that signs up, we will pay for 1,000 meals and get those food items into people's hands that need them.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for coming off camera. It's always nice to see you.
Because I was eating. But I do want to say, and it's not because she's there, she is a ball of action, and she moves from where'd you go? From the first, I mean, she's not even in yet, and things, shit's hitting the wall, ba-boom, 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 and we're all responding. I didn't expect, listen, I wanted to feed seniors. Now I'm like, and the orders come down and they're done because we all believe in what she does. And I'm not kissing her ass. I know her before. She used to drink at my bar.
Yeah, no raises as much as I'd like all my
No, I don't even want it. Just to be in your realm it's amazing. People have no clue. Her hands are in everything to make this work. They are, and like I said, it's an honor to have you as my friend and also as my boss. So that's enough. Goodbye. I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
All right, Michelle. Good night.
Good night.
I will say, this has been like an extremely rewarding experience, no matter how crazy it has been. But our goal is anyone in need that we can help and support. Let us know if it's your neighbor, if it's your cousin, if it's your grandma, if it's, we have a lot of bailiwick here because it's not just health department, it's health and human services. So we do have teams of people helping our veterans, teams of people helping our immigrant population, teams of people helping our seniors. We've seen the increase of domestic violence throughout this period. We brought on some social workers to help us with that effort as well. So anyone that is in need, if they allow you to share their name, we're happy to, support them in any way we can.
That's great. Thank you, Director Flanagan. Anybody else on here have anything they want to say, ask before we adjourn for the evening? All right, as always, Director Flanagan, I can't say enough about everything that you've shared with us tonight. We really appreciate your work. Right, girls? Yeah.
I will also say we did just get children's masks. So if the neighborhood association wants to pick up a bunch of children's masks, we can deliver that. And today we distributed masks with windows for the hearing impaired in the community. So if there's someone in your neighborhood that has family that reads lips, we can make that available as well.
Oh, yes, please. We'll put some kids' masks in the village park. That's wonderful. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday evening with us. If you have any questions for us or for Director Flanagan, please just email any of the board members or info@jcvillage.org. Thank you all for your time. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Hey.